Hi, good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Misty Hobroch and I am a marketing manager here at ReachForce. ReachForce is a marketing data management company focused on delivering growth through our data quality solutions. I'm really excited today to have Charlie Lang from Engagio joining me to talk about one of the hottest topics in marketing right now, account-based marketing, and the important role that quality data plays within ABM initiatives. Just as a heads up, we have some extra content for all of you today. The webinar will run a little bit longer than the originally scheduled 30 minutes. It will probably run around 40 to 45 minutes. If you do have to leave before the webinar concludes, we will be sending out an on-demand video that you can view as well. So again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us on today's webinar, Data Secrets to Great Account-Based Marketing. All right, so I'm going to move on over to our agenda. There we go. So today, like I mentioned, we're going to cover one of the hottest topics in marketing right now, ABM, and how data enrichment plays an important role within those ABM initiatives. So we will discuss how to ensure your ensure your CRM and marketing database stays current. Also how to get accurate data without losing prospects on the form, and also practicing cutting-edge strategies once you have that accurate and reliable data in place. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone is in listen-only mode. And as your questions come up throughout the webinar, I encourage you to type those into the chat box and submit. And at the end of the webinar, we'll have time for a brief Q&A session. And if your question is not answered, we will definitely follow up with you after the broadcast. So with that, I want to hand it over to Charlie Lang and let you get started for us.
Thanks, Misty. That's excellent. And I'm really excited to be here today to be a guest of ReachForce and present to you kind of, not only just kind of data secrets to account-based marketing. We all, are going to learn the importance of data secrets, but also kind of zooming out a little bit where the data quality and hygiene fits in the context of the general account-based marketing framework. So this is a slide looking at literally the table of contents of Engagio's clear and complete guide to account-based marketing that John Miller wrote himself. As you know, John Miller is the co-founder of Marketo and also the CEO of Engagio. So these 6 processes are what he kind of came up with in terms of how one should think about the construct of account-based marketing. So the first step of account-based marketing is to select the accounts. This is an often overlooked step, and a lot of the times, teams dive right into account-based marketing without careful target account selection. Now, if you don't choose the right accounts, you could be wasting a lot of your marketing resources, when they could be better focused to marketing to better accounts. So target account selection is perhaps the most important piece of account-based marketing, and later we'll talk about the data pieces that you'll need to do great target account selection. Similarly, the second piece is discover contacts and map them back to the account. This is just as important as selecting target accounts, because once you know the accounts that you want to target, you also want to understand who at those accounts you should specifically be aiming to have a conversation with and to meet with. And then developing account insights to carefully prep your pitch and your talk track to each individual inside these accounts is also very important. And we'll talk a little bit more about how exactly to do the first 3 steps in the account-based marketing framework. So to start out the conversation, I wanted to kind of provide a little bit of context. Now, these are, Engagio's internal funnels and where we see the target account, fitting inside of the context of the general marketing construct. So we have actually 3 funnels. Our first funnel is the target account funnel, and these are accounts that our AEs and salespeople and everyone else has kind of chosen as the important accounts. Funnel 2 are still inside of our ideal customer profile, and they're qualified, but they're non-target accounts. And then finally, we have funnel 3, which are non-qualified, non-target accounts. So when thinking about your target account strategy, think about them in the general context and think about how they fit in and jive, especially with the funnel 2 accounts. So now, who selects target accounts, right? We mentioned before that choosing target accounts is one of, if not the most important pieces of account-based marketing. Internally, we like to recommend the kind of the 4 pillars of target account selection. That obviously includes your sales team. After all, these are the accounts that they're going to target. But the marketing team, as well as the executive team, should be involved as well, especially if you're selling to a marketing or sales vertical where many of the connections, are very important to help you get inside of those target accounts. And we also like to say that predictive vendors can play an integral part in helping you select your target accounts because they have access to data that you might not consider you may not consider if you weren't using a predictive vendor. Once you select your target accounts, it's also very important to know your key personas underneath the target accounts. Now, Engagio sells to 6 key personas, 3 in sales and 3 in marketing. And before we do anything in terms of account-based marketing, we make sure we have our personas mapped out carefully. That way we can figure out who's connected to whom, what their objectives are, and how we can really construct our talk track to get inside our target accounts. Also, it's important to know who's engaging. So this is where a vendor like ReachForce can come in, right? We all have forms on our website. So once someone gets to a form, you don't want to ask them to fill out 7 or 8 fields. They're not going to do that. So you want to simplify the form process, but also have enough information to follow up with them adequately after after they fill out the form. So you can do that one of 2 ways. You can ask them their information on the form, or when they go to your database afterwards, you can enrich the database afterwards. And ReachForce provides both services, and they do a great job of it. So you want to know who's on your site and also what persona they are, if they're a key persona or not inside your target accounts. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we route, key personas from target accounts a little bit later. It's very important to have up-to-date data to do great account-based marketing. I can't stress this enough. If you don't have good data, if you don't have good insights, if you don't know who's at your target accounts, you can't do account-based marketing well. On the left-hand side, companies rise and they change very fast. This is an example of a company that rose from 500 employees all the way to 2,000 employees and then back down to 1,000 employees, all in the span of 1.5 years. So, in a lot of companies, this can mean the difference between whether a corporate team follows up on the lead or an enterprise team follows up on the lead. So if you don't have accurate data, you can't really route your accounts to the right people. And also, I like to poke fun at millennials because I happen to be a millennial myself. But millennials are notoriously, or at least they write about this, they're notoriously fickle employees, meaning that they jump from job to job quite often. So a lot of the times, when they make it into your CRM, a year later, they've already switched jobs once or twice. So it's very important to know not only who's at the account, but also who's the latest person employed at that position. You don't want to follow up with a account only to find out that the person has moved on. That really tends to derail your conversation, especially within target accounts. So why are we doing all this data? Why do we need all that great data? Well, one key way is when you have your personas and when you have your accounts chosen, you can do some really cool reporting and some really cool sales enablement, meaning that you can point your account development team or your sales development team in the right direction. This is a dashboard we use internally in Engagio to find out who inside of our target account lists are engaging the most. How many engagement minutes are they having with us? And what is that trend over time? And this really helps us kind of prioritize which accounts we should be throwing our resources at. Getting into these accounts, even if they have a lot of engagement, sometimes can be very challenging. So, I'll talk a little bit more about how we construct the plays, but this is really helpful once you know the players inside the target accounts. You really take the fast track in terms of building out how you want to get inside these accounts. And internally, we use this thing called a marketing qualified account. Marketing qualified account is what we like to say as the evolution of a marketing qualified lead. Because it's called account-based marketing, so naturally you should look at everything on the account level. Instead of having 20 MQLs pop in at a large company, oftentimes this happens a lot, 20 MQLs, and they tend to go to different sales development or inside sales teams, and they get followed up on in different ways, that are incohesive. This is not the best practice for account-based marketing. Instead, you should just have one marketing qualified account that gets routed to one team responsible for that account so that it can take inventory of everyone that's engaging at this account and start to understand kind of what the different priorities are and construct the talk track. So the marketing qualified account is absolutely critical for account-based marketing. And internally, we have different thresholds, whether they're based on whether they're target accounts, whether they're funnel 2 accounts, or funnel 3 accounts. So the better the account is, the lower the threshold is, and the less you have to do, because we want to be more proactive in terms of reaching out to these accounts when they engage. And on the right-hand side, you can see how we measure MQA accounts, and the logos over time. This is a big piece for our sales development team, our account development team, to figure out which accounts to go after first. So we talked about the first 3 steps of account-based marketing: select accounts, discover contacts, and develop account insights. Now I want to briefly touch on, once you have those accounts, once you have the contacts, once you have all this great data, and once it's up to date in terms of hygiene, what do you do with all that? How do you execute the campaigns? How do you get inside these accounts? So steps 4 and 6, respectively, are to generate account-relevant messages and deliver account-specific interactions and orchestrate account-focused plays. And I'll talk a little bit more about that right now. So before you even reach out, resist the temptation to reach out immediately with a canned template, even if they requested a demo. You want to think about each account individually and save yourself some time. A lot of the times you don't want to slow down the sales cycle by asking qualification questions. You should have that data already inside your CRM. You should already know who that person reports to, especially if they're in a target account. You should already know what shows they're thinking about, what topics are likely top of mind by scouring social media and seeing, what pieces of content they've liked and reshared. You want to start to formulate your messaging. You want to understand their priorities. So start with a strategy and do your research. But the strategy is usually to, you want to get them to do something. If they requested a demo, the strategy is obviously to get them on the phone. But a lot of the times it's not a slam dunk. Let's say they attend a webinar of your partners and you get all the attendees back. Well, you want to understand what the topic of the webinar was, what was discussed, if there was any questions, and really, think about what you want them to do. Do you want them to read something else? Do you want them to jump on a call with one of your sales reps? Do you want to go on site? What do you want them to do? So start with a strategy and also identify not only, that person that you're trying to get a hold of, but a few of their colleagues that might be influential and you might want to try as alternative points of entry. And don't spam. That's the most important part. If you spam them with canned templates, even if you're not in marketing or sales, you're getting smarter and smarter because you get tens, even hundreds of emails on a daily basis, and most of them are canned. You never want to spam your target accounts because it only takes one unsubscribe. It only takes one poor messaging piece that will probably make them tune you out for a good amount of time. So don't spam, do your research, and be intelligent in your outreach. And I mentioned this before, but figure out, you have resources on your team that you should leverage when reaching out to, the other target account. And you should also figure out who are the key players on their end and perhaps get creative in terms of who you're dialing, who you're including on the emails, who you're mailing, and who you're following and retweeting on social media. So that all involves identifying the key players before you even reach out. And then I want to talk about the channels. So this is our tried and true kind of internal top 5 account-based marketing and sales channels that we found to be very successful when done right. So the top channel is still human email. Nothing beats a carefully constructed email and a carefully researched email. And Engagio, we use our internal tool to deliver the messages and to deliver the messages not only to the key persona, but also to the other key personas on their team from multiple parties on our side. Social media is a great channel for us. We do some paid social media. We also do organic social media aimed at target accounts. Live and virtual events, direct mail, and account-based advertising are all great channels that we've seen to kind of really drive an uptick inside of a selective target account group. But you can only do this after you've populated your CRM and your marketing automation and your Engagio instance with the right data. And finally, I wanted to kind of leave you all with an example of great content, what great content looks like. So just a quick story on the left-hand side. I like to go to Lake Tahoe, especially in the summertime. And I was driving back from the beach one day, and I saw this gas station. This gas station is very unique because usually gas stations have 3 prices, but this one only had 1 price. It was $2.99 across the board. Now, I don't know if they just ran out of all numbers except for 2s and 9s, or if they had a little bit too much cold beer, but the messaging really only only resonates if you're buying premium gas, because if you're buying the other 2 tiers of gas, you're probably going to go somewhere else because you think you can get a better deal. So my point is that, when you say the same thing to everyone, you're only going to resonate with a fraction of the people. So that's essentially what you're doing with demand gen content. Now, in the account-based marketing world, there's still room for demand gen. you can't possibly go one-to-one to every single person you're going to market to, every single person account you're going to market to, but you do want to carefully construct the messaging, such as the example on your right, when you are talking with key personas at your target accounts. So, our CEO, John, gets a ton of emails, hundreds of emails a day, and he doesn't respond to a lot of them just because, there's not enough time in the day to respond to every single email. But this is a particular piece that really got his attention. Now, this sales representative really did his research and saw that, he's rode down the Pacific Coast 6 times and really used that as an opener, and it seemed to work really well. And then he, bridged it with the, a sales pitch, and that really resonated, and that really got John to respond. So this is an example of some great account-based marketing content and how that's different from demand gen content. And with that, I will hand it back to Misty, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about how to really get that great data that we've been talking so much about.
Excellent. Thank you, Charlie. That was great. Thanks for sharing your vast knowledge around ABM with all of us today. I love that example at the end with the gas station, the $2.99 for all. So yeah, I'm going to jump right in here and just kind of talk about the benefits of capturing high-value lead data at the point of entry in real time. So as you can see, from everything that Charlie talked about today, the importance of having a really solid data foundation is going to be key for your ABM initiatives and will make all of the difference in the world, right? The importance of capturing that high-value lead data at the point of entry in real time is critical for accurate account linkage and having the right tools in place to ensure that you're capturing all that quality data is a must. The need to append and enrich data in real time is crucial for account targeting. Making sure account data is accurate and organized is a must for lead scoring, routing, and also nurturing as well. So with all of that being said, there's often that painful gap between having to keep your registration form short so that conversion rates still stay high while still capturing all that rich data that's needed for successful account-based marketing. So now what I'm going to do is walk you through how SmartForms can help to combat incomplete data from your leads by importing clean, validated, and standardized data at the point of entry in real time. All right, so how does it work? So on the screen here you can see SmartForms, it sits on top of any existing form in a marketing automation platform or other lead form software. So here I'm showing an example of an existing customer of ours, Hortonworks, using SmartForms on their Contact Us page. Here you can see where I have entered my marketing leader's information on the form. And SmartForms will then work in real time behind the scenes to gather all of that rich firmographic and demographic information for our company. So then after hitting submit, you can see that SmartForms is now requesting that I verify which company I am referring to. The reason for this is this feature improves the accuracy of the match between the company and the information that it provides. So even if I choose none of the above, SmartForms chooses it for me. So once a prospect submits their information, SmartForms appends all of the company lead data in real time and sends it to either your marketing automation platform or CRM, depending on how you have that set up within your organization. I also want to point out that this window that you see, this little pop-up, is fully customizable, so including the number of companies suggested, as well as the algorithm of how SmartForms determines which company selections to suggest or choose. All right, so here you see an illustration of the type of information that you'll receive. So on the left is the optimized user-friendly form with just a handful of fields. And then on the right is what SmartForms is appending alongside that manually entered information from the prospect. And then I want to also point out that this is only a sampling of data, as there are over 120 data points available for appending, also including installed technology or all of the corporate hierarchy information. So again, SmartForms is completely configurable, so you can consume as much of this information or as little of this information that's required for your company's specific business needs. One of the cool features of SmartForms structured data is that it provides company information for domestic offices and the global parent company as well. This can be extremely helpful when it comes to segmentation and identifying the possibility of a much larger opportunity within an organization. So here you can see a visualization of how SmartForms captures the necessary and accurate data on the first form fill. Therefore, on subsequent forms, marketers can really focus on using progressive profiling to capture that important BANT information, since on the first form fill, SmartForms already appended all of that firmographic and demographic data. SmartForms, it really allows for a more effective personalization for known leads, therefore helping to shorten the length of the buyer's journey through the marketing funnel and closes that loop on lead to opportunity conversion and improving that direct ROI for all your marketing programs. So here is a slide of some of the reasons that customers are adopting SmartForms. There are many benefits for having enriched marketing data, and this chart just represents a few of the reasons that our customers are adopting. As you can see, most of them are not just adopting for one reason, but for multiple reasons. The top reasons include simplification of lead handoffs, so the ability to route leads to your sales team efficiently, in a timely manner is huge. Power lead scoring and marketing automation, as well as enhanced targeting and segmentation as well. Here on this slide you can see this is a case study from one of our customers, Marketo. You can see the significant increase in conversions and the decrease in the cost per lead that they experienced by shortening their forms. So you can see that they originally had 9 fields, and then in the middle they shortened down to 7, and then on the left down to 5. So they experienced their highest conversion and lowest cost per lead while receiving even more data than on that original form that had 9 fields by implementing SmartForms. So that's pretty huge. All right, so here's some more success metrics from our customer Hortonworks. You can see that after implementing SmartForms, the conversion rate for their top targeted campaign was 47%, and they saw a 43% increase in lead accuracy. I mean, those numbers, those are huge, right? They kind of speak for themselves. So that is, in summary, how SmartForms can help with that data, importing it on the front end to help with all your account-based marketing. Just having that complete, accurate, and timely data is necessary for account-based marketing, and SmartForms allows you to capture this data at the first step of the buyer's journey. So with that, we will open it up to a brief Q&A session, and then like I mentioned in the beginning, if we don't get to your question, we will definitely follow up with you after the webcast. So let's see, Charlie, did you want to start with a question, or do you want me to go ahead and take the first one?
Yeah, I'm fine if you want to take the first one.
Okay, great. Give me just a second. Let me pull this up. All right, so will SmartForms interfere with my existing landing page forms? So that's a really great question. We hear that often. So no, SmartForms, It will not interfere, as it can be configured to work on any online lead form, including all of the major marketing automation platforms and CRMs as well. Thanks again for submitting that. That was a great question.
Misty, also looks like there's one from Jamie to you here that asks, are we assuming that these are for unknown prospects because of the use of progressive profiling would be better to reduce fields? And also, how would this relate to progressive profiling?
Okay, so that's a really great question. So I think the question is, by reducing the amount of fields, are you still receiving all of the information that am I reading that? Did I hear that correctly, Charlie? Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like the question's around if the smart forms is only for unknown prospects, or is it for known prospects, and how does that play in with progressive profiling?
Okay, that's a really great question. So with the smart forms, so if they've already been to your site and filled out a form, then that's going to show up every time they revisit to your site. So you're still going to get that information within, your marketing automation or CRM that they've revisited. But as far as capturing that information, that's all going to be done on that first form fill. I hope I answered that correctly. If not, please, I'm happy to follow up with you after the webcast as well.
Great. And I think, so there's another question here that asks, what are all the cool things that you can do when you do have great data? So yeah, that's a question we get a lot, but it's also it also depends for each company, because once you have, it depends, first of all, on the strength of your data. You're limited by what you know. So, as Misty mentioned earlier, it's important to have really clean data, so that you can, go to social media, so that you can go to ad retargeting, so that you can go to direct mail, and really get creative with your messaging. If you don't know what tools the company is using, if you don't know who's who at each account, if you can't segment your, if you can't even segment your companies to kind of different corporate or enterprise teams, you can't do the cool stuff in marketing. So it really kind of depends on, your ability to market well. It really depends on how good of a data you have, and you can do a lot of cool things when you know what, technographics, firmographics, when you have your personas built out at each account.
Excellent. Thanks, Charlie. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar for today. Charlie, was there anything else that you would like to add before we end the webinar?
Yeah, so generally I like to end the webinar with kind of one key takeaway. I'll kind of leave you all with one here. Is it's very important to have great data for account-based marketing. There's obviously a lot of steps in account-based marketing, but data is the first step because it drives target accounts and it drives the persona picking. For more information, go to engagio.com/guide and download the Clear and Complete Guide to Account-Based Marketing, and also the Clear and Complete Guide to Account-Based Sales Development, both 100+ pages of really good knowledge that our CEO, John Miller, has put together.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar for the day. Thanks again for joining us. I hope this was informative. And if anybody is interested on speaking on one of my bi-monthly Smart Forms webinar series, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have those discussions. So thanks again for joining me and Charlie today, and hope to see everyone again soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.